Good evening, viewers. As we put the spotlight on the crisis between Ukraine and Russia, we get you our special coverage online on the elections, the campaign and polling today. One phase of Manipur went to polls this morning. The latest that we are getting in right now is that record polling being witnessed where Manipur is concerned. The first phase of polling took place today. However, there were incidents of violence. Manipur is a state rife with insurgency. That was one of the main reasons that there were two phases that were announced where Manipur was concerned. Out of the 60 assembly constituencies, viewers, 38 went to polls today, voted today, and will decide. Polling today will decide the fate of 173 candidates, including 15 women candidates. In Monday's polling, the electorate fate of Chief Minister and BJP candidate N. Biren Singh, his cabinet colleague Thongam Biswajit Singh, NPP candidate and Deputy CM Unam Joy Kumar Singh, senior BJP leader Satyabrata Singh, Congress's Ratan Kumar Singh, and many others. Their fate will be decided this time around. However, there were incidents of violence which were reported in the first phase of polling as well. Manipur Assembly elections, Congress emerged as the single largest party, winning 28 seats, followed by the BJP, which settled with 21 seats last time around. The National People's Party and Naga People's Front bagged 4 seats each, while the Lok Janshakti Party managed to secure the only one constituency. BJP bagged 36.28% of the vote share, while Congress received 35.11% of the total vote share. Later, BJP stitched a coalition with the NPP and the NPF and the LJP to form the government, despite the Congress emerging as the single largest party. This happened under the leadership of Biren Singh. Let's cut across to my colleague Anisha, who's joining us live. Anisha Mathur. Anisha, get us up to speed with what you're witnessing. Where exactly are you? I believe, as is a hallmark of most states from the east, bumper polling today in Manipur in 38 constituencies.
Well, yes, I am in Singjamai constituency, which is where Congress leader Hema Chandra and the current Speaker of the Assembly, Ken Chand, are going to be battling it out. We are here because there was a recent report just a few minutes ago of a minor scuffle between the supporters of both candidates. And you can see here, senior police officials are here. They're taking information from the poll officers, and all around this constituency, the supporters are still standing here outside the polling booth, even though the polling booth is at present been closed down. As you said, there has been a bumper polling from Manipur today. 38 constituencies, 173 candidates. People have come out in large numbers to, I beg your pardon, to vote here. And but there have been multiple instances of violence, of disturbances. At the moment, what we know is at 3 p.m. there was the voter turnout was at 68.39%, with Kangpokpi, which is a hill district, logging in at 76.74% as of 3 p.m. We are still awaiting the final polling percentages. The poll was supposed to close at 4 o'clock, but with the large number of people still waiting to cast their vote in several areas across Manipur, polling is still continuing. Of course, we've also seen instances of disturbance, disruption and outright violence in some areas across Manipur. And I'm just going to read out some of these instances to you. There was a clash between Congress and BJP supporters in New Kethal Manbi, which is a constituency in Kangpokpi district. There, of course, now because of the disruption, repolling has been ordered, because after that the clash between the political workers, the polling could not begin. In another constituency in Saikul, in Leplen village, there are reports coming in of some violence between some groups. It is still unclear exactly who is responsible there. At the same time, we have allegations of booth capturing coming in from a couple of places in Chura Chandpur. Haingang, which is the Chief Minister's constituency, also saw allegations being raised regarding proxy voting. Similar allegations came out in Cabo Leka in Wangkhei constituency, which is where Okram Henry Singh is facing off, in fact, against Erabot Singh, who's a very senior, he's a former senior BJP leader and now contesting for the NPP. Repolling, of course, as I've already said, has been ordered at the new Kethal Manbi polling station after allegations of booth capturing. Even here at the Singjamai constituency where we currently are, there was a minor scuffle and the police is looking into this. But all in all, the Manipur polling has been largely peaceful, mostly because of this huge amount of police and paramilitary personnel who were present to service. The Election Commission has made every possible effort to make sure that the polling remains peaceful. What is also unique about Manipur politics is the fact that there is an influence of separatist groups, of underground groups, which is something of a factor, especially in the hill districts. So in Chudachandpur and in Kangpokpi, which are two of the hill districts which were polling today, there have been incidents of sporadic violence, of sporadic clashes. But all in all, the Election Commission has said that all situations have been largely taken care of. Any incidents of threats or violence have been taken care of and polling has gone on smoothly. Of course, Manipur has as of 3 p.m. saw more than 68% polling and the numbers are expected to go up. Remember, the Election Commission here has been talking about trying to get over 80% polling, and people, you can see here, I'm just going to show you, are still very enthusiastic. Supporters are still outside the polling booth. They're waiting to see what is going on. It is going to be a very tough fight to see who actually forms the government in Manipur. The BJP, of course, has been saying that they are hopeful of getting a majority. The similar claims have also been made by the NPP, which is contesting on 27 seats, which believes that they will be able to play kingmaker in this particular state. The Congress, of course, also saying that since they're contesting on 35 seats, they are also hopeful of getting a majority. Last time, remember, in 2017, the Congress was the largest party but had the most number of seats. But the BJP managed to form the government by coalition with the other parties, including NPP, NPF and others. This time, how the numbers game will work out is going to be very, very interesting to see, because the NPP is contesting on its own. It wants to be in power, and there have been disgruntlement against the BJP government, even within the coalition partners. So we'll have to wait and see how this all works out in Manipur. Back to you.
All right, stay on with me, Anisha, coming right back to you, because, one of the main reasons why polling was split in two phases. The 60 assembly seat in Manipur was because it's a high insurgency area, many seats extremely sensitive. Even in the first phase today, where 38 seats went to polls, violence marred the first phase of polling in Manipur. Allegations, like Anisha was pointing out, of booth capturing, forcing the Election Commission to order repolling in one particular booth. The incidents of violent clashes, booth capturing and heated arguments were reported from Manipur on Monday as the state witnessed the first phase. The Election Commission has ordered, like I pointed out, repolling in certain booths where booth capturing was reported. Security forces resorted to firing blank rounds to control the crowds at the polling station. The situation arose after Congress accused the BJP of attempting to capture the booth. Normalcy was restored and voting resumed after being disrupted for a few minutes. Nobody was injured in the incident. The situation was also tense at the Cabo Lekai polling station in Wangkhe constituency, as voters allegedly said that there was proxy voting going on. Chief Minister Biren Singh's constituency, Haigang, also saw heated scenes and written complaints from the Congress candidate about his agent not being allowed to participate in the polling process. Five-time MLA and an NPP candidate for Wangkhe, Y. Irabot Singh, claimed that the ruling BJP was behind the proxy voting. In hill areas, voting is done even before polling day, he said. Congress in 2016, Anyway, we're going to continue to get our viewers the very latest. Let's cut across back to my colleague Anisha, who's joining us with the very latest. Anisha, like you pointed out, sporadic incidents of violence, but one of the main reasons that there were two-phase election in Manipur and which did not coincide with the rest of Uttar Pradesh or Punjab going to polls, or Goa going to polls, or Uttarakhand going to polls, was that it's a highly sensitive state where polling comes into play.
Manipur has been considered a highly sensitive state when it comes to polls. Remember, out of the two phases, right now the first phase, which has about 5 districts which are voting today, 2 of these are the sensitive hill areas. Even in the valley, which is the Imphal Valley, where the rest of the constituencies are, we have seen instances of clashes between political parties. In the hill areas in particular, however, there is also the risk of the threats and the influence of the separatist insurgent armed groups. We've seen statements coming in from various armed groups in the last couple of days regarding their support to a political party. We also saw the other political parties complaining to the Election Commission regarding misuse of the government machinery and misuse of the influence that the government has to allow these to ask for the support from these insurgent groups. But today what we've seen, the clashes that we've seen have less to do with the insurgent groups and more to do with the clashes between the poll workers themselves. Remember, we've also seen several instances of pre-poll violence where supporters of different parties have clashed with each other. Manipur also has the unique distinction of being a state where routinely candidates jump from party to party. We see even in many constituencies, senior leaders of the BJP, the Congress, the NPP have jumped from party to party or joined new parties such as the JDU and RPI and others who have sort of started influencing politics from this election. So one saying in Manipur is that the voters follow the candidate. Voters do not follow party ideology. How far will that actually influence is something we'll have to wait and see. What is also important is that because this is a very small state, the populations of each constituency are very small. There are only about 30,000 to 35,000 people in each constituency, and everyone knows each other. Personal relationships, family relationships, clan and tribe relationships play a very important role in the supporters, who supports whom, who will vote for whom. And because of that, in several constituencies, we've seen clashes breaking out between the supporters of different candidates and different parties. We also saw pre-poll violence on the basis of the ticket distribution for the parties, where supporters of one candidate or the other were offended or upset at that particular candidate not getting tickets. So we've seen a lot of disturbances and problems in the Manipur election, but all in all, the Election Commission says that this election has been largely peaceful so far.
All right, Anisha, appreciate you joining us for that quick update on the first phase of polling in Manipur. We're going to continue to get back to you, but let's also now shift focus to the high-octane electoral battle playing out in political Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh. As voters of Uttar Pradesh will cast their vote in the 6th phase of assembly elections on March 3rd, the war of words between the BJP and the SP has intensified. While campaigning in UP's Maharajganj right ahead of the 6th phase, Prime Minister Modi tore into the Samajwadi Party. Prime Minister came down heavily against the family-led opposition parties, is what he called dynasts, never missing a chance to dent the country's self-confidence, targeting both the SP and Congress. Modi went on to say that Parivarwad do not want to see a strong India, due to which they keep creating obstacles. He also said that the opposition parties have pushed back development. On the other hand, the Samajwadi Party also hit back with Akhilesh joining the campaign in now, with the battle shifting to East Uttar Pradesh, Purvanchal.
बीते 2 सालों से तेजी से बदलती दुनिया की स्थिति आप सब देख रहे हैं। दुनिया इस समय बहुत सी चुनौतियों से गुजर रही है। इन हालात से कोई भी अछूता नहीं रह सकता। दुनिया के हर नागरिक पर किसी न किसी रूप से इस पर असर पड़ता ही है। ऐसी स्थिति में भारत का ताकतवर होना इस वक्त सबसे बड़ी जरूरत है। इस बार आपका वोट समर्थ देश के लिए, सशक्त उत्तर प्रदेश के लिए है। ये गौर परिवारवादी लोग कभी भी भारत को समर्थ नहीं बना सकते, यूपी को सशक्त नहीं बना सकते हैं क्या? ये गौर परिवारवादी कुछ कर सकते हैं क्या? गौर परिवारवादियों की सरकारों ने आपको विकास से जानबूझकर वंचित रखा है। इस क्षेत्र में उन्होंने कोई मूलभूत सुविधाएं, कोई इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं बनने दिया। पूर्वांचल को सड़कों से वंचित रखा। इन लोगों की नीतियों की वजह से यहां की चीनी मिलें बंद हुई, किसानों की हालत बदतर होती गई। आज जब महाराजगंज, कुशीनगर और पूरा पूर्वांचल, पूरा यूपी विकास की राह पर चल पड़ा है, तो इन गौर परिवारवादियों को नींद हराम हो जाती है। उनको बुरा लगता है कि पूर्वांचल कैसे आगे बढ़ रहा है। पूर्वांचल को जात पात में उलझाकर ये गौर परिवारवादी खुद यूपी का विकास रोकना चाहते हैं।
All right, let's cut across to our reporters. I have Kunal Kumal, who joins me from Basti, which is eastern Uttar Pradesh, going to vote in the 6th phase of elections. Moshmi joins me from what is the center stage of Awadh politics, Lucknow, to get a larger perspective of what we can witness in the days to come. If there is one thing, Kunal, that has come to light is that this is seeming not to be at least a wave election, or there is a hawa of any particular party. This election is being fought on seat, constituency on constituency. You are reporting from Basti. What are the local issues there?
See, the developmental issues, the Prime Minister was also raising the same kind of issues that these areas, including Basti, Maharajganj, he was addressing a rally today. So these areas are largely not included in the on the developmental map of the Uttar Pradesh, and that's why the Purvanchal area is largely quite backward even today. And that's why Prime Minister or even the opposition parties, they are blaming each other that why this area was relatively backward till now. So this is one of the election issue. But when we are covering the election phase after phase, we are finding that this election is, as you said, that not a particular wave can be seen in any of the phases, but largely this election is going on the caste lines, and that's why BJP is quite aggressive, and Prime Minister and even Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, they are trying to make the nationalism a particular issue. In fact, even the Ukraine-Russia war has become issue, and that has also been mentioned in various of the speeches by several leaders. So certainly this is not a kind of election which we have seen in 2014, 17 and 19 when Hindutva wave was seen all over the state. But this is more a local elections, and caste equations are more dominant this time as we are.
Well, we'll
witnessing.
only know, Kunal, when the time comes, when that last vote is counted, when come the 10th of March. But I want to bring in Moshmi also into this conversation. Moshmi, you and I have travelled extensively through the course of Uttar Pradesh reporting this election. If in terms of local elections, for me, if I can pick three is security. Suraksha is one which they all talk about. They talk about free ration is what you get all the time. They talk about sand, which is chute janwar, or the stray cattle issue, are three issues that I constantly saw echo. Will it be these issues, or will it be a larger dynamic of caste combinations, permutations that is at play? Or will it be religion, polarization on Hindu-Muslim lines? That we know when that last vote is counted. But how important, Maushmi, are the last two phases, 6th and the 7th phase in Purvanchal?
Absolutely, Preeti, you hit the nail on the head as far as the issues are concerned. But we must remember that as this election enters the last leg in Uttar Pradesh, the last two phases are absolutely a stronghold of the BJP. If you look in the past, in 2017, consider this phase which is coming up, 57 seats, and the BJP bags 46 of those seats. Imagine the percentage of vote share. And earlier in 2012, the BJP had bagged just 9 seats, and the Samajwadi Party had almost 36 seats in 2012. So it was a complete U-turn in 2017, and come 2022, this battle, apparently the Samajwadi Party feels, because there is a reasonable strength of Muslim majority. Apparently, the Muslim community is pretty clear which side they are voting. It is Samajwadi Party's assessment that they would get that percentage and the Yadav vote share. Then and if you look at the caste lines, if you talk about the caste lines, the Thakur community apparently is clear that where they are voting. The experts say that the Thakurs, the Yadavs, the Jats, and the Muslims, these communities are pretty clear and could perhaps go one-sided. Even the Dalits, the Jatavs, probably. The experts say the BSP might just be underrated as far as its performance and pulling the Dalit, specifically the Jata votes is concerned, and could do better than it was assessed earlier. So very critical, as you said, the caste fault lines, the caste divide here. Importantly, a battle also for the BJP in this election, this phase is also a prestige, because if the last phase you'll see Varanasi going to the polls, the 6th phase will see Gorakhpur, the home turf of the Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister, going to the polls. Also, Agricultural Minister Surya Pratap Shahi will also be seeking re-election. And many ministers in the Yogi government would be testing their fortune. So also it is a battle to perform at least what they did in 2017, a similar performance. If not a similar performance, it's not easy to bag 46 out of the 57 seats. It's almost a whooping above a 75% performance. So one will have to wait and see, and that's why you see the BJP is a bit nervous. From Bahubali to Bajrangbali, the Prime Minister going on to the security issue, the terror issue, talking about the cycle and connecting it with terror, and now the Ukrainian crisis has come into being. Interestingly, not only Yogi Adityanath, Akhilesh, but Priyanka Gandhi Vadra also campaigning for Ajay Lalu, the Congress president, will be seeking a contest here, and so she's been campaigning in Basti, Siddharth Nagar. All these factors, Preeti, make it a very, very closely fought contest, one can say.
All right, stay on with me, the both of you are going to come right back. Lots of big guns booming, lots of electoral factors right now. Kunal Kumar reporting from Purvanchal, Basti, is going to go to polls in the 6th phase on the 3rd of March. We're going to continue to get our viewers the very latest, but let's try and get you the latest coming in terms of the heavyweights in the poll fray. One of them is Asaduddin Owaisi, looking at UP as a hunting ground to garner the Muslim vote bank. But will the Muslim vote bank split this time or stand strongly behind, which many say is the Samajwadi Party? Let's listen in.
मुस्लिम जो हैं यहाँ पर उत्तर प्रदेश के, समाजवादी पार्टी का ऐसा सोचना है कि मुस्लिम इस बार नहीं बढ़ रहा है और एक तरफा सपा को वोट कर रहा है। आपका क्या?
देखिए वो तो चुनाव जीत चुके हैं ना, वो उनको तो साक्षात भगवान उनके ख्वाब में आकर बोल दिए, तो अब उनको क्यों फिक्र कर रहे हैं मुस्लिम वोट की? आप तो बन चुके हैं, छोड़िए ना मुसलमान वोट को। आप योगी आदित्यनाथ को भी ख्वाब में आ गए, तो इनको वोटर की जरूरत नहीं है। ख्वाबों की दुनिया के माहिर हैं, ये ख्वाबों के बादशाह बने हुए हैं। भाई ख्वाबों में रहिए, जमीनी हकीकत का आपको अंदाजा ही नहीं है। अहंकार में दोनों डूबे हुए हैं, योगी और अखिलेश। तो इनका इतना गुरूर और तकब्बुर इन लोगों में है कि बोले जा रहे हैं, अनाप शनाप बोले जाते हैं।
All right, I want to connect right now back to Kumar Kunal, who's joining us from Basti. Saduddin Owaisi was in Basti today. A sizable Muslim population in Basti there, Kunal. But that's the big question. Will it consolidate behind the Samajwadi Party, or will the likes of Owaisi be able to dent it? Because there is a faction which seems to suggest that that vote be split between the BSP and the Owaisi, something that the BJP would want.
Yeah, obviously, BJP will want that the minority votes will be divided between SP, Owaisi and BSP. And that's why a considerable number of seats where BSP has also fielded Muslim candidates on those seats. Owaisi is obviously fighting for the Muslim votes. And even looking at the crowd he is managing to get, there is a big crowd everywhere from west to east. We are witnessing that Owaisi is actually getting big crowds in his rallies. So although the crowds are not the measure of the can be a measure of popularity, but it is not the measurement that actually he is getting those votes or not. This is mainly a bipolar contest as we are looking face to face. This is mainly a bipolar contest, and even Muslim voters are quite clear that if they want to dislodge Yogi Adityanath government, then they have to back Samajwadi Party and Akhilesh Yadav. And that's why a theory is coming that most of the Muslims are backing Akhilesh Yadav in this crucial battle of Uttar Pradesh. And since BSP has also fielded a considerable number of Muslim candidates, even during an interview, Amit Shah has mentioned that Muslims are voting for BSP. So that tells the whole story. Even BJP is quite interested that the Muslim voters should not back wholeheartedly to Akhilesh Yadav. And if that will happen, then the battle might get tougher for the BJP. They have to bank on the Hindu polarization, which is actually not happening in that considerable measure which has happened during 2014, 17 and 19. So still what we are witnessing, that it is more a caste-based election as far as the Hindu voters are concerned. At the same time, there is a remarkable polarization in the Muslim votes, and that's why BJP is quite concerned about the Muslim voters. I am at Basti, and Basti has also a considerable Muslim population. And mind one more equation, even the OBC factor will play very importantly during the last two phases. And even Samajwadi Party has made alliance with Subhaspa, which is a very important OBC caste. Even Mauryas will play an important role during the last two phases. So all these OBC caste dynamics will also be in play during the last two phases. And there are almost 110 seats, more than 110 seats will go into the elections during the last two phases. And Muslim, OBC, Yadav, these kind of combination, what SP will want them to favor. At the same time, BJP will think that somehow the Hindu polarization will happen as the Muslims are polarizing in favor of Akhilesh, and that might give them a better chance in the next two phases.
You know, Kunal, stay with me. A lot of political analysts who've studied this election very closely, especially the first 5 phases, and Maushmi, I'll bring you in on this, pretty much seem to corroborate that this election will be decided in the last 2 phases. Why?
So, Preeti, if you look at the last 2 phases, here the BJP, because naturally it's the Prime Minister's constituency and the neighboring areas, and the Chief Minister's constituency and the neighboring areas are going to the polls. Purvachal has been the BJP's forte since 2014, and that's why, where the beneficiaries come into play. Almost 1 crore 73 lakh beneficiaries of the schemes of the Yogi and the Modi government, have been flaunted often by the BJP, and the Gorakhpur area and the Varanasi area have been the laboratory for the BJP as far as wooing the public and ensuring the implementation of the several direct cash transfers to the several schemes, flagship schemes of the Modi government. So the BJP really feels that this is the core area. Secondly, because this battle unexpectedly for the BJP has become a very, very tight contest. As Kunal said, it's a bipolar contest. So the last overs are the most crucial, like any match that has fought tooth and nail. And thirdly, I would like to bring into picture the fact that recently the Prime Minister addressed a rally, and in fact he was addressing a meeting of polling agents of the BJP, and the empty chairs, the empty chairs, polling agents moving out even while the Prime Minister was speaking. And so two factors that the BJP needed to address the polling agents at this point of time in the last leg, and the polling agents walking out, empty chairs. Is there a fatigue in the BJP workers, because we all know that this issue of the MLAs being not as powerful as they should be, not doing as much as they should have done in the BJP regime, not answering to the people's calls, and the tickets not being cut because Swami Prasad Maurya and the likes moved out, could cost the BJP perhaps very heavily, and that makes the BJP a bit nervous. With the polling agents walking out, the BJP Karyakarta is the BJP Karyakarta not as enthusiastic, and does that explain the low voter turnout that we're seeing? The fifth phase last time saw around 54% polling, the sixth phase. You'll have to wait and see what is the polling percentage that goes out, and is it the BJP voter who really believes Yogi hi aayenge to Yogi hi, that is not moving out, makes this election a very critical election, a do or die for the BJP, and that could perhaps tell you whether the die was already cast in the low voter percentage.
Well, we'll only know when that last vote is counted. I appreciate both of you for joining us. Well, one thing I can safely say is that this is one of the most interesting elections for any political journalist to actually study, to see what exactly is going on ground. What's also there this time, viewers, is a huge legion of the silent voter. Which side will that voter actually go? It's a high-octane elections. Many reasons as to why the slog overs is what they call of this election. The last two final phases, phase 6 and phase 7, primarily concentrated on the eastern UP belt. Now, this is where Akhilesh Yadav would hope that his caste calculations, arithmetic, tie-ups with regional parties like Rajbhar's will actually pay dividends. Mind you, in 2017, it was on similar lines that Amit Shah had stitched this coalition of sorts and made massive gains in the east. The east pretty much had fallen all the way for the BJP. What will it be this time? The sixth phase of election, which is in about 2 days' time, the 3rd of March, will witness Gorakhpur also going to polls, which is where for the first time the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath, is going to be fighting an assembly election from. He's been the Member of Parliament from this constituency for over 2 decades, but now for the first time he's fighting a Vidhan Sabha election. The stakes are high. The returns would even be higher. We're going to keep a keen eye on this high-octane election. Do stay with us on our coverage right here on India Today.